Hi everyone, it's Natalie Elphinstone here, and I'm going to take you through a process of my page today. I, like usual, have got a little bit of a plan, but not the whole thing worked out. Where I actually started today was getting prompted by the stamp set, actually. Sometimes, like I do a lot of devotionals and I have sort of set readings, etc. But every now and then you just feel like you want to look up something different, or you want to try something a little bit outside of your devotional. And quite often I actually turn to the stamp sets because they've got, the nice little sort of, if I can say, the Christian phrases in there, and it prompts me to look up where they come from or what it might mean, or to do a little bit of a study on it. So today I took this one, "The Holy Spirit Rained Down on Me," which, like there's no verse in the Bible that specifically says that, or at least not to my knowledge, and not when I looked it up, but there are like 1,000 different verses that reference rain. And so I looked up rain and I started having a little bit of a study into some of the different verses, and the one that struck me, and so where I'm going today, is in Hebrews 6 verse 7. And so I've underlined it there with my illustrated faith pen, and the reason for that is because, A, it's awesome, but B, because it's waterproof, and I'm about to do a sort of a watercolour technique, and so I didn't want it to smudge afterwards. So I've underlined the verse, and it says, "For land that has drunk the rain that often falls on it and produces a crop useful to those for whose sake it is cultivated, receives a blessing from God." Which is a little bit confusing when you just look at it, but what I believe that it's saying, or what I took from it in this point, is that we're the land, and we need the Holy Spirit to often rain on us, and He does, and we need to drink it in and then produce the crop for which He has sent it, and if we do that, then we'll receive a blessing from God. And so taking that sort of rain idea, I'm just going to do a colour wash down the margin of my page. I find it difficult to colour my whole page with colour. I really want to try and, wherever I can, maintain the clarity of the words. And so I'm just going to add colour in the margin, and I'm going to use this cool new product that I recently just found. It's called Brusho. And I've got it in two colours here, a Prussian blue and a sea green. I thought they would be good sort of rain colours, and you can see the colour comes off really easily. I've drilled some holes in the top of my caps so that I can sprinkle it on, and I'll show you what I mean. What I'm going to do is, I've just got a wide paintbrush. I've got ordinary water here, straight from the tap. And I just want to put some water down on my page. Now, I have not prepped this in any way. I haven't put gesso on or anything, and one reason for that is because I'm too lazy, because that takes time to dry, etc. But the second reason is because this is a watercolor technique, and so I'm just going to sprinkle this on, and you can see the amazingness as it happens. And a bit of green down here. You don't need much, you just need to sort of tap it on. Yeah, because this is these are basically like watercolor crystals, and I just want to add some more water to it. If I put gesso down first, then you kind of get a different effect than what I'm after. So I'm just going to paint this out a bit, because this I put on way too much now, which is why I put a whole bunch of tissues here so that I can mop up the excess. And so let's just do that. Let me just dab it around rather than painting it. Being very careful not to tear my page here, because once it gets soggy, of course it gets very fragile. And just add a little bit more water to these bits that haven't quite dissolved. So yeah, I was saying these are like a watercolor crystal, and they activate with the water, so they create these kind of marbled effects when you sprinkle way less on than what I just did. But you know, this whole process is about experimenting and having fun as well. It really for me is not about making this the most beautiful piece of art that you've ever seen. Now I'm going to let that dry before I do anything else. I'm just going to let it air dry because if I use my heat gun, then it will tend to sort of wrinkle the paper even more. So I'm going to come back in a few minutes. It probably won't take long because it's quite a warm day here in Australia. And then I'll show you what the next stage of this is going to be. Okay, now that that's all dry, you can see, or it might be a little bit hard for you to see at the moment, the colour is a little bit lighter than what it was, of course, when it was wet, but it is still quite dark. And I know that if I tried to write over that with my pen or stamp with sort of a coloured ink or a black ink, then it's going to be quite difficult to see. So I'm going to stamp and emboss with some opaque white, and of course the first thing I want to stamp is that the stamp that prompted this, Holy Spirit Rain Down on Me. So I've mounted it onto my acrylic block, and I'm using some Versamark ink, which looks like this, and I'm putting that in the gap here. So stamping that, I've got my Bible mat underneath just to give me a bit of a firmer surface. And immediately after I pull it up, I'm going to sprinkle it with my white embossing powder. And I've got a bit of a scrap piece of paper underneath, so I'm going to tip all of that onto the paper and see how that's going to look. I'm going to zap that with my heat gun in a minute, but I'm just going to finish doing some more stamping and do all of my stamping all at once. So I'm going to add this kind of triangle design here because I think that will kind of look like the rain. So that's going to go up the top. Stamp that a couple of times. Sprinkle that again. And down the bottom, because it's talking about blooming, I've got the old bloom stamp set, and I'm going to use this flower, and I'm going to pop that down the bottom. Same technique. It's got this nice long stem on it, so it's going to be perfect for fitting in this gap here. 1 and 2. Once again, sprinkle that. And you can see how that's going to look, but it will look even more opaque when I'm just going to apply my heat gun. I won't subject you to noise of that, so I'll come back when it's done. As a finishing touch, I do find it hard not to then go and add a bunch of colour. Like, you could definitely leave it like this, and I think it's quite an interesting effect. But me, I like colour. So I've just dug through my stash of stickers these are actually all from the Genesis collection, back the very first collection that Bella Boulevard and Illustrated Faith did. And I've got yeah, that little hearts that I put down the bottom. Of course, we need a tab up the top, and I was going to go with Grow in Grace because, you know, it's talking about growing and blooming. And I'm going to put a little title on, I think. What am I looking for? An R for rain. Just to sort of reiterate my theme. Move them over a bit. and I think I'm going to write Drink the Rain. So I'm just checking if I've got enough letters. D, R, I, N, K, and then T, H, E, yep. And I'll stick them on, and then I think that will be sufficient for today. Thank you guys for joining with me. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments in the blog post or on the YouTube video, and I look forward to hearing from you and looking forward to seeing if any of you are going to try out this kind of dark background with a white embossing stamped effect, because I think it's rather fun. Thanks guys, I'll see you later.